The lowest plan on the self-service are churning a lot, and generally the enterprise customers are very sticky. And not only that, but they are growing their usage, because at ScrapingBee we have tons of use cases, so I couldn't name all the use cases, but e-commerce is a big one. So generally it's companies that are doing price monitoring or price comparison or market research, things like that. When the web scraping is at the heart of their product, they tend to grow the usage because the company is growing, they need more data, they grow their usage.
Today's episode is the oral history of ScrapingBee, a scraping API business started by two French tech founders in 2019 that has grown in 5 years to more than $5 million in ARR and recently exited for 8 figures. How do you decide a business around scraping? What growth channels worked or did not work? What were the key levers that led to such rapid growth? And what are the anti-lessons learned along the way? This is what we will discuss today with Kevin, along with the questions, why did he sell? Stay tuned and welcome to this new episode. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Pascal.
So Kevin, your smile on your face is because you're the founder and CEO of ScrapingBee, and ScrapingBee was acquired recently by the Oxylabs group, which is part of Tesonet group, which I've heard is the largest Lithuanian tech company. I'm 25% Lithuanian, so it speaks to my heart, I guess. You were acquired for 8 figures. Congratulations. Today we're going to talk about the story of ScrapingBee and especially the main lessons learned along the way. Your example is, I would say, one of the best recent examples of a founder who built a company mostly in public, bootstrapped, grew to a significant size, 5 million plus in ARR, in a very competitive space. The scraping market is, it's not like you didn't have any competitors. What I like about your story is because that you made a lot of decisions that were counterintuitive and that worked out well for you. So we're going to go through them today. So first of all, let's talk about the very beginning. Like, how did ScrapingBee first start? Where did you get the idea? Why did you build that business? And how did you launch?
All right. First of all, Pascal, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I've been following what you did with Oxylabs for a while, and super excited to do it. So regarding the backstory of ScrapingBee, it all started with so first of all, both Pierre and I we've been involved with web scraping early on in our careers. So on my side, I was working. I started my software developer career in France in a company that is a little bit like Pled.com in the US. So it was doing bank account aggregation, and we were selling APIs to third parties and banks to aggregate customers' accounts. So it involved a lot of web scraping. And for Pierre, it was he was also involved in web scraping more or less because he was working for a company called Meilleur Agent. It's a real estate data company in France. I think it's the biggest real estate data in France.
Yeah, a little bit like Zillow in the US. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And so, of course, it also involves, scraping the data. The story about Pierre and I is that, so Pierre is a lifelong friend. We met each other in high school. And we've always, we've always been pretty nerdy, and we've always done projects together. So side projects, things like that. And after when we were working as employee in different startups, we were constantly calling each other about startup ideas that we had, things like that. And so after a bunch of failed projects, we decided to take it seriously. I think it was in 2018, and we quit our jobs, and we built a B2B price monitoring software for e-commerce that was called PricingBot, and it was really hard. So the space is pretty competitive, but we had ideas on how to improve it and do product matching with it, which is a really tough subject in the e-commerce price monitoring. But the problem is we knew nothing about how to market to e-commerce owners, and we never managed to get it past 1,000 in MOR. But it was still a really, really good experience in terms of how to build a SaaS, how to, everything in SaaS. And on top of that, the key learning for this project was that we had a lot of scraping challenges for monitoring prices in e-commerce stores. And so with Pierre, we told ourselves, okay, this project PricingBot is not going anywhere. There's not a good fit with what we know, because we don't know how to market to e-commerce owners. It's a really difficult market. We don't know anything about it. But on the other hand, we know a lot about web scraping. We know a lot about the problem because we solved it in our previous companies when we were employees. We solved it with this failed startup. And on top of that, we know how to market to developers because I had a tech blog. Pierre also had a tech blog where he wrote like a really, really great articles about Git, about Python. He front paged Hacker News several times. He made like really good Medium articles that got featured everywhere. So like we know how to write content, and we know that there's a huge developer audience that craves great articles. And so basically all the stars aligned. We knew the problem. We knew the problem was big. We knew how to solve it, and we knew how to distribute. So it clicked, and we told ourselves, okay, that's it. We know what to build next. So I think we spent about 9 or 10 months on PricingBot before deciding to not shut it down, but move to something else. And that's where we created ScrapingBee. I think it was in May 2019, something like that. And immediately we started blogging without even having a product to sell. So we created a lot of content immediately, and we spent a lot of time distributing the content everywhere: Hacker News, Reddit, newsletters, you name it. And after a couple of months, we had the project ready, and we launched in July 2019.
And so I see a few things that are interesting here. The first thing, it reminds me your story and your experience, both working on scraping companies, first of all, then blogging about it, both of you, and having experience doing that even before you started ScrapingBee. reminded me of this concept of these, this framework from Naval Ravikant of the 4 types of luck. And sometimes you can have luck from uniqueness. And in your case, you are both very deeply into scraping. And so you are very well suited to build a scraping API company, right? Because you had the knowledge, the audience, the unique skill set. And so it was kind of, it's quite striking, first of all. And so looking at that, you bootstrap a company, but you still applied for Tiny Seed, which is a kind of a fund that is mostly geared towards founders that want to bootstrap. Can you walk me through why you applied there and what Tiny Seed got you? What did you get out of it beyond the money?
The backstory of how we applied to Tiny Seed is kind of linked to how the launch went and also our personal situation for both Pierre and I. So basically, when we launched in July 2019, we already had several thousand visitors on the ScrapingBee blog, even though we didn't have any product. And the day we launch, like the months that we launch, I think we closed 5 or 6 customers in the month. And out of those 5 or 6 customers, there was one big, what we called enterprise customer that was paying more than 1,000 a month. And it took us only 3 emails and 1 Zoom call to close this account. And it was really amazing for us to have this, because it really gave us a lot of confidence in the product, in the market, in our ability to sell and to distribute. And so I wouldn't say that we knew we had product market fit immediately, but I could say that we knew very, very early on that we had something, and that this project was worth going all in. So we went all in into ScrapingBee. We worked like crazy. But the thing is, I think, let's say in August, we were at 1,000 MRR. In September, maybe 1,500. In October, 2,000, something like that, adding 500, 800 MRR every month. But it's still not a lot of money. And we didn't had, we were basically bankrupt, both of us, because we have spent, about 2 years working on failed startups. And so it was, and on top of that, we had to buy, new servers for ScrapingBee. We had to buy proxies. We have to buy, so it was losing money, and we were also losing money every month, personally, because we had to put our personal money to the company's bank accounts in order to, buy the servers, do all kind of things. And so it was, on one hand, it was really an exciting period of our lives, because we had something really special that was growing. On the other hand, it was really stressful personally to see, I don't know, maybe I cannot recall the exact number, but I think that in September 2019, I had something like 10,000 euros on my bank account, my personal bank account. And I was burning maybe 1,000 euro for my personal expenses. And we had to put maybe 1,000 euro every month on the company's bank account. So with a 2,000 personal burn rate, that gave me like 5 months. And after that, I didn't know how I was going to live. So it was really stressful. So one thing that we did in order to extend our runway is that we sold a pricing bot. We managed, so it was pretty funny. One thing that we did good with pricing bot is the SEO. So the product was bad, but the SEO side was pretty good, and so we managed to sell it to a competitor. I don't remember remember the exact amounts, but it was something like 20,000 euros, which was at the time a huge sum for us, and it extended our runway pretty significantly. And on top of that, Pierre did some consulting on the side to basically earn a bit of money for the company and pay the bills. And it was really hard because basically he was working every day at La Défense in Paris. So it's not a fun place to work. And yeah, and then on the nights and weekend, he was having his second job of ScrapingBee CTO. And me during the day, I was marketing and selling like crazy. So this was really hard. And we, at some point, Pierre proposed that we raised a bit of funding. I was against it. I didn't want to raise for many reasons. I think that, to be honest, so in 2019, I was 27 years old. I think I wasn't really mature, and I don't think I still am very mature on every aspect of business, but I had this kind of conviction, or I don't know how to call it, to stay bootstrap, to not to raise. I didn't want to dilute ourselves, and so basically I had this mentality of being really scrappy, and I didn't see the value in raising, because in my world back then, we could do everything by ourselves. We didn't need to hire, and so it wasn't worth the price. And the other thing is that for me, at that time, the vision I had about raising capital was really tied to the Silicon Valley playbook. And so in my mind, by raising capital, we would have handcuffs, and we would be on the track where the only option is to become a unicorn. And I didn't want to have this kind of company. The kind of company I wanted to have is a small, bootstrap, profitable company that is fully remote and that can be profitable and happy with distributing dividends, which is really different from the VC track, or the traditional VC track. But Pierre applied anyway, and he convinced me to apply. He told me, okay, well, we can just apply and we see how it goes. And if we're accepted, we will have a conversation. So he applies, and I think 1 month later we got accepted, and we have the conversation. And I changed my mind, because I was seeing that how stressed we were about the money, and also I was seeing the value and the philosophy of TinySeed, which is really different from the philosophy of traditional VC firm. So basically, TinySeed invests in niche SaaS companies, and they're pretty happy with companies that are doing 7 or 8 figures in revenue, whereas in the traditional VC track, 7 or 8 figures in revenue is a lifestyle business and it's a failure. TinySeed is also happy with companies that never sells. and that distribute dividends. It doesn't happen in the traditional VC world. So all those things convinced me to accept the tiny seed offer. And the other thing that convinced me is that I was a big fan of Rob Walling for a long time. And so Pierre and I, we were two guys from the south of France. Like we didn't have a big network, and we needed mentors. And it didn't disappoint. So in the end, ScrapingBee grew so fast that we barely touched the funding. So we raised about $150K. We barely touched it. But the mentors, the mastermind groups, so when you enter Tiny Seed, they have a 3 months boot camp where they teach you everything about marketing, sales, hiring, pricing, enterprise sales, everything. And it's like that's where the value is in my mind. It's much more valuable than the 150K that we raised with them. And yeah, I could give you tons of examples of really, really golden nuggets that we learned from them. There is one especially that I think really blew my mind. Can I? Okay, so the thing is, I think most bootstrappers don't understand pricing at all. Like they just don't get it. And the other thing is they don't get the enterprise philosophy. So I'm going to give you an example. The problem most bootstrappers have with enterprise sales is that they're selling $100 a month subscription to Fortune 500 companies. This is a crime. You cannot do this. You're like, if you're doing this, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. For most enterprise, so what I call enterprise is big companies that have, procurement department, a certain way to handle vendors, things like that. For them, let's say between paying $100 a month, so $1,200 a year, or paying $20,000 a year, it's a rounding error. Like it doesn't matter. So if you don't make them pay $20K instead of $100 a month, you're leaving $90K on the table. And for me at the time, I didn't understand that. Like when a big enterprise company came to me and asked for a $100 subscription, I was always saying yes. But then they were asking me for invoicing, a PO number, custom contract, SLAs, SOC 2, security form, blah, blah, blah. And so what TinySeed taught us is that's not the way you handle enterprise. The way you handle enterprise is you ask them in advance for their like a vendor onboarding process. And then you basically, like if they tell you that, okay, we need this specific SLA, we need this, you can tell them always, okay, that works, but it's part of our enterprise offering, and our enterprise offering starts at something. So it can be 10,000 a year, it can be 20, it can be 50. And what we've seen in the past is that for lots of enterprise company, like they just say yes. And so you can have a company that is paying you 20, 30, 50K, 100K a year, but that is not consuming when you have a credit model like we have, they're not consuming the whole number of credits. They just don't care. What they want is a vendor that accept their processes, and the processes for them is very, very valuable, because they won't work with a company that don't comply to their processes. And so for lots of bootstrappers, it's a very boring, they don't want to deal with it. They want only self-service, PLG. They don't want to talk to the customers. They don't want to do onboarding. Well, that's a philosophy that I had, but I think that it's a really bad philosophy, because those customers are the best. They're the ones who have the most money, and they're the ones who are really sticky. Once you get an enterprise customer, generally the churn is really, really low. So that's one of the biggest learning we had in terms of pricing and all with TinySeed, and I think it like we didn't apply this advice fast enough. Like we heard it, but we didn't apply it in the company fast enough. And once we started doing it, it really worked very well. And yeah, I think that's the biggest learning.
And if you think about now, I mean, we're going to fast forward. What has been the different milestones? So you go TinySeed, and then what were the 4 revenue milestones in just 4 sentences? And also, were there other elements that that you learned along the way, or moments where you had you felt that you had a fork in the road?
The first year, the first 12 months, so in August 2020, I think we were about 8K in MR. The next 12 months were crazy. I think in August 2021, we were at 70 or 80K. So we 10x'd in 1 year. And then in 2022, 12 years after, 12 months after, I think we doubled or more than doubled, something like that. And after, so I don't have the precise trajectory between 2022 and 2024, but we doubled or a bit more than double, because we reached 5 million in December 2024. So so that's pretty fast, considering the very low amount of funding.
Was your growth fueled by, you would say, existing customers growing over time, or was it fueled by adding new customers?
It's an interesting question. So generally, if you in the web scraping world, there is a pretty high churn for the I mean, I say in the web scraping world, but it's the same thing in any SaaS. The lowest plan on the self-service
Always has a highest churn.
are churning a lot, and generally the enterprise customers are very sticky. And not only that, but they are growing their usage, because so at ScrapingBee we have tons of use cases. So I couldn't name all the use cases, but e-commerce is a big one. So generally it's companies that are doing price monitoring or price comparison or market research, things like that. And when the web scraping is at the heart of their product, they tend to grow the usage, because the company is growing, they need more data, they grow their usage. So I would say that on the overall, we had more more growth by adding new customers, but the customer base, especially on the enterprise segment, is growing their usage a lot, and it grows the revenue.
In terms of your journey, you eventually sold this company this year. You could have kept at it. You could have sold it earlier. Why was now a good time for you to sell?
It's a good question. So there were many reasons. It's not the first time that we had the opportunity to sell. So in 2021, so we've been in touch with private equity firms and competitors for a long time, because we were very, very public about our numbers, about the company. And so I would say that at some point we had an email like every week by a private equity firm. Most of the time, we were either not responding or telling them that ScrapingBee wasn't for sale. And one day in 2021, so at the time we were doing 60K a month in revenue. We got a private equity guy that really insisted. Like, I was telling, no, we're not for sale, but he was basically saying, yeah, everybody is for sale at some point, like just at the right price. So name your price. So we were like, okay. We gave him a really crazy multiple. I don't know how much, but like maybe something like 20x or 30x. And he didn't really push back. He said, well, we can talk. So we talked, and in the end we got a great LOI. I think the LOI was something like 15 or 20x, like something really big. Maybe 15. Yeah, I think it was 9 million, something like that. But as with many private equity offers, there was a lot of earnouts, like enterprise value. Yeah, that's also something. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, but enterprise value is not the full story. Like, the conditions are often more important than the enterprise value. But whatever. So we accepted the offer. We signed the LOI because like it was just the most rational thing to do when you have such a crazy offer. So we signed the offer. We got to due diligence. We spent, I think, 3 or 4 weeks into due diligence, and one day we have a call. Like we have an email. I think the subject line was we need to talk.
That's never bad. That's never good.
Yeah, that's never good. And so it didn't go very well.
Yeah.
And they decided to walk away for various reasons. I think the biggest reason why they were kind of like in their financial model, they weren't really happy about the churn on the self-service segment. And basically they live in their models, so this can be a big issue. But the thing is, it was really hard for us, to be honest, because when you go through a process, it's really like emotionally, you're really invested. And then after you sign the LOI, it starts to get a little bit more real. And then there's the due diligence phase, which is really intense. All the financial audits and things like that. And then you start talking to your friends and to your family. And even though you're telling people, your loved one, that, nothing is real until it's signed and you have the money in the bank, it's still, it's still, it's still hard. And so, basically that was the first, real, the first time that we almost sold the business. And so after that, we had this idea in our head, and mostly me, to be honest, that I have 99% of my net worth that is tied to this business. At some point, I want to sell and diversify and de-risk. But then we kept growing like crazy. And so we grew. And there is one question that I didn't answer previously. You asked me if there was some kind of forks in our journey, like where we had two paths. One big thing that we decided early on with Pierre is that Pierre was going to handle all the technical and product side. So CTO, CPO, and on my side, I was going to handle all the sales and marketing side. And so at some point, basically our marketing was mainly SEO, and I was doing SEO over and over again. And I kind of got bored and even burned out of that because it's very repetitive. What I was doing basically was come up with content ideas, write briefs, find writers, manage the writers, and then distribution, like outreaching to lots of people in the industry, newsletter, Reddit, things like that. And I did that for 3 years straight, like from 2019 to 2022, 23. And it was really, really repetitive, but it worked. Like that's the ugly side of successful businesses. That so you can have a successful business, it's growing. You find a channel that works, a process that works. Then the only thing that you have to do is to go all in and do it over and over again until it stops working. But this process can be exhausting mentally, and when you lots of entrepreneurs are creative people who likes novelty, but when you have something that works like this, you have to go in the trenches and get your hands dirty and do it over and over again. And one of the big failure, I can say it's my failure, is not hiring someone, a team to do it earlier. So eventually I hired a head of SEO that took it over, and but I should have done it way earlier, because I burned myself by doing this. And I think it's really part of entrepreneurship is managing your own psychology. And I think I could have done a better job at this. And for the next company, I won't do the same mistake again, I think. So yeah, and to answer your question about why we sold now, I think it's really different. Like going from zero to having a product is really fun and require a certain skill. Going from having a product and a product market fit to having a business requires another set of skills. And going from having a business to building a company is still not a thing. And I really loved the phase. Like my favorite phase was going from the product market fit to having a business. So basically, the phase between, let's say, 30K MRR to 5 million AR was really great. I loved it. The phase between 0 to 30K MRR was really interesting and stimulating, but I was basically playing my life because I was all in, no savings. It was really stressful. Then when the business started working, it was really fun from, let's say, 30K to 5 million AR. But then at some point, I wanted to de-risk, and also to be honest, I've been working in the web scraping industry for the past 10 years, and yeah, I felt like I've had seen a lot in this space, and maybe it was time to move on.
Before we finish this podcast, I had a question. I mean, you mentioned a lot about some advice you took, especially on pricing, for example, from Tiny Seeds. There are many things on the. I would say you mentioned to me offline. Also, you had a lot of programs, advice that you took to heart about your identity and conformism. But I think that one thing that would be more interesting for our audience would be about about advice you didn't take, and why you didn't take it. What did you learn from it? I think that you told me about the advice you got early on ScrapingBee about hiring and delegating. Why you didn't take it? I mean, you mentioned later that you learned the consequences of not hiring or delegating enough on the SEO side, for example. Can you tell me more about that? What did you learn, and what was the advice? Why didn't you take it, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think so. As lots of bootstrappers, I've read all the books from 37 Signals. I think it's in Rework, or maybe it's in another one. Basically, DHH explained their process about hiring, and he says something like, "You have to, the founders have to do the work. So let's say SEO themselves, and when they can't take it anymore, and it's working, that's where you know that you need to delegate and hire." And I've read this and I agreed with it. But when I was doing SEO 24/7, my like I was so focused on what I was doing, and it was working so much that I don't know. I didn't. It was like my brain. I had some fog in my brain, and I didn't step back and reflect, I didn't thought about delegating at this point. And it makes no sense because we had the money. We had like it was the perfect time, and the yeah, everything was perfect at this time to delegate, like in 21 or 22, and I didn't do it. And in France we have an expression, avoir la tête dans le guidon, and it was exactly that. So I don't know how to translate it in English.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have binders where you're so focused on what's ahead of you that you don't see what's happening around you.
And I think also like everything started to improve when so basically at some point I stopped working so hard on ScrapingBee, and I was working way less, and I started walking a lot and reflecting. And I mean, it's pretty like a lot of people advocate for the power of walking, but it really, really works. That's where I had lots of good ideas, and I asked myself, but why don't you hire someone for this? It's makes no sense. I think part of me was afraid of managing people. Part of me was pretty a perfectionist, and so when you hire someone, you cannot expect to have 100% of the task done the way you like it, especially for creative tasks like writing. But you have to, I think. I mean, first of all, you can manage and train people well. And second, I think it's better to have, 90% of the results that you would have had by yourself, and to free up your time and your mind rather than doing it yourself but get burnt out.
And what role would you have hired earlier? Like, what would be the first role if you go back in history, which role would you have hired?
Support. So for a long time, Pierre and I did the supports by ourselves. We had a live chat on the website, and at some point we developed a PTSD to the sound notification of the live chat. So yeah, that's definitely support. And then SEO.
Cool. Before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you one of my custom questions. In 2 sentences, if you were to tell the little cave-in of 2019, like 3 sentences of, okay, what you would do, what you should do, what you should think when you're starting ScrapingBee. What would these 3 sentences be? So hire support early, charge more for enterprise customers,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
sell when you think it's the right time. Or would there be something different? Would there be a different third one?
Yeah, spend more money. Like stop being so scrappy and spend more money. But I think it has a lot to do with the personal history, like your relationships to money. But yeah, I think spending more money and taking more shortcuts, because basically, it's not normal to raise money and not to spend it, I think. Yeah, I really think that I had a money problem. Like I was too on the defensive and too in defense mode, and should have been in offense mode.
Bootstrappers spend a bit of money so that you can be in offense and you can win. I have 2 questions for you, 2 quick questions. One of my favorite interview question, like, what is the one thing you learned from your mother? The most important thing you learned from your mother? Let's start with that question. And the second question will be about do you have a contrarian take on AI? So you can start with whichever question you want.
I'm going to answer the mother question first.
Yeah.
But it's from my father, actually.
Okay, that's fine.
There is one funny thing my father tried to explain to me when I was a little kid. So in France we have this famous business guy called Bernard Tapie.
Yeah.
And basically, my father told me, I think maybe it was something Tapie said. It goes like this. So when you owe 1 million euro to the bank, you should be scared. But when you owe 1 billion euro to the bank, the bank should be scared. Yeah, basically, I've always been anxious about many things, and my father always gave me advices on on how not to be anxious.
Good advice. And on AI?
I don't have any contrarian thing about AI. My current I'm as many people. I'm tinkering with AIs for a lot of things. The current, so I haven't been coding for the past 5 years, and AI makes me love coding again. I cannot code without Cloud Code. And it really makes coding really fun again for me, and I'm really grateful for this technology to exist. And obviously, I'm thinking about lots of use cases for AI, and maybe the next company will be in this field. One thing I'm really excited about AI is AI controlling softwares, and especially web browsers, of course. There are lots of really solid and interesting tech in this space, like all the browser automation tool. And there are lots of. I hope that at one point it will work really reliably, especially to automate mundane tasks that we all have in our businesses. So yeah, really excited about all those AI use case, but I don't have contrarian takes on it.
Well, I agree with you that on the browser side, there's a lot of things that are going to change, and that agents are going to take scraping to the next level. So that's exciting and something to monitor in your area for sure. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you for sharing your story and your lesson learned. And thank you very much for being part of this debrief in the board session.
Thanks for having me. It was fun. Thanks, Pascal.